Okay, just a quick update on Banshee number 2 and Banshee number 1. On Banshee number 2, these exhausts did not look like this. I had to polish them by hand and with a rotary tool, an electric rotary tool. Took me forever. I think it took me about 3 or 4 hours to get it to this shine, because these were in better shape than those exhausts, at least with this area, like the rust and the corrosion. I need to let it sit in acid for a little bit and then go through multiple layers of muck and grime and all that stuff. So it takes a while to get this to that, and this is probably going to take me even longer. Not so much here, but you can see how this Banshee has been seriously neglected big time. And I mean, whoever sprayed the body and painted it, painted the boost bottle, painted the exhaust, very, very sloppy work. And this bike has been really neglected, but everything works. It's brilliant. The rear taillight works, the front lights work, the engine runs healthy. I didn't like to run it and start it because I noticed some dust and dirt here within the carburetors. These are the stock carburetors, because this engine doesn't have much work done to it. It has the cool head Wiseco pistons and just the Moose Racing boost bottle. So yeah, as I was saying, I didn't really start it much. I just started it 2 times to get it into the garage. Obviously these aren't the original boots or the original coil even, which makes me wonder if anything with regards to the electronics is original, including this. So I don't really know, but I'll have to tear this one down. Also, when I got this, like this is also snapped, broken. The axle, this is what shocked me when I got this, and I was talking to the guy that sold it to me. He's like, everything is amazing, everything is good, I spent so much money, it should be perfect, it's not junk, whatever. So when I bought it, I didn't know that the steering stem was bent. I didn't know that all the A-arms, I mean, it was pretty dark when I bought this bike and we didn't really have a chance to go through it, but also the axle nuts, both the jam nut and the lock nut were completely loose, and there was about, I want to say, 1/4 of an inch of play with the axle, so I had to tighten that down. But it doesn't really matter because I'm changing the axle anyways, I'm changing the swing arm, changing the suspension. Both these bikes are kind of like project bikes, but this one is a lot easier as a project because the frame is already painted. I don't need to tear the whole thing down. I started this in the brute cold, like really, really cold weather where it's just almost ice on the engine, and it cranks from the first kick. One thing that happened with me is when I was bringing it out into the garage, bringing it up into the garage, one of the boots, I tried to start it, and it was very odd why it didn't start, because this engine really starts very quickly. I noticed one of the boots is damaged, so I didn't check this coil. I have a spare coil over there, but it seems most likely that I need to replace both these boots. Now this one is fine, but again, when I'm replacing one boot, I like to cut off a little bit from here and a little bit from there and replace both boots, just because I don't know if they were installed in the same time, if they're the same age, if there's wear and tear on them. Just to be safe, I don't want one working better than the other one. You can test these by taking that completely off and disconnecting it from all the electronics, and you can use a multimeter and you can test it. Here I have a spare coil just in case. I always have these, not just for the anything 2-stroke really. I always have a spare coil just in case. And these are the new boots. You can use the standard NGK. These are the original OEM Yamaha. They're a bit more expensive. I believe they're like $10 to $15 more expensive, but I think they're worth it because I want to keep it as OEM as possible, and the quality in these is just really, really nice. They're really well insulated, and they're meant for this bike, so you can't go wrong. These boots have screws at the end of them, so I'm just gonna cut. I don't like to cut too much of this because then you really shorten it, and if you ever have to do this again, you can only do this so many times, and then you're gonna have to replace the whole wire. So I'm just gonna cut about less maybe 1/4 of an inch, just like that. All right. So put some here. Put some here. Okay, that's how it should click in there. And the reason I don't cut off too much of it from the beginning is to leave that hole left by the screw previously, not to cut it completely off. It just makes things so easy for the plug boot to just immediately screw into the wire without you needing to add any pressure or anything, because the hole is still there, and then it kind of digs its way further. Alright guys, so I'm gonna begin with the Tusk axle install, as well as the Lone Star Racing sprocket hub, Lone Star Racing disc brake hub, and the Microlight rear wheel hubs, as well as the Tusk disc brake to go with the Tusk extended axle. One thing I'm not gonna do is, this is a new bearing carrier with new bearings, so one thing I'm not going to do is I'm not going to change the bearings. I know it's very recommended to change the bearings and seals once you change the axle. That's just common sense, but at this point I'm just gonna remove the axle and put in the new axle, because like I said, these are new bearings and new seals, and the whole carrier actually is just new. So yeah, this is a temporary Vito's performance carrier that I'm gonna keep for a while until I get the Lone Star Racing swing arm, the +2 swing arm. But yeah, let's get to it. I think this is the manliest tool ever invented. All right, guys, I just wanted to quickly show the progress where I've reached so far. So I installed the Elka suspension. These were valved and sprung and preload set for me and my riding style by Elka. So the front end is completely installed now. I just recently also installed the steel braided brake lines. I like these Alba clamps. I could have gone with the Lone Star clamps, but I just wanted to kind of match this red clamps with the red of the Elka suspension. Yeah, and it's a full Lone Star A-arm plus the hubs. The brakes have been rebuilt as well. Everything's been torqued to spec. What else am I missing here? Yeah, the only thing I need to do now is bleed the brake fluid, but really impressed with how this thing is turning out. Everything has been reworked, repainted. Even these have been sandblasted and painted. So yeah, just also here, this technically is not supposed to be here. It's supposed to be attached to the subframe over here, but I didn't like that really. It kind of sticks out too much, and swing arm goes up and down, and I know there is some clearance, but also I feel it's too close to the exhaust. It's supposed to go right here, and it's too close to the exhaust, and this, even Elka says it shouldn't be placed next to high temperature. So I don't understand why this is the position, but I get it, because it's the easiest place. I had to make a custom carbon fiber bracket to hold this in place, but I think it looks beautiful. I think it looks good like this. So anyways, this is where we are right now. Gonna bleed the brakes using the vacuum, and yeah, we'll hopefully everything works out good, so I can install the wheels and do the alignment once it's on the ground, because the camber has been set. Caster on these are not really adjustable. These are sport style A-arms, but the camber has been set and they're perfect. They're 2.5 degrees left and right, so that's the kind of motocross spec. And I don't like too much camber, but I think 3 degrees is perfect. So yeah, using the angle finder, you can figure it out. It wasn't very clean, so I put race fuel in it, but not high octane race fuel, like Sunoco 98 octane and the Motul 800V, which is my favorite two-stroke oil. It's this one, for anyone asking. This is my absolute favorite two-stroke oil. I think it's the cleanest. I think I'm not sponsored by any of these companies. I have no loyalty to any brand or company. Let's say my loyalty is to people like myself who are looking to, you know, get the best for their machines, and I think the Motul one is really good for two strokes in general. Yeah, and that's it so far. So I'm gonna continue, and we'll do an update finally once it's completely done.